One, two, and three. We want to welcome everybody today, Mom and Dad Talks, where our favorite two people are Mom and Dad, and we got Hantie. And welcome everybody to 2022. This is the new year, January 1st. You couldn't get any better and greater than that. And I'm good to see my family on here. I thought it was interesting today. You know, a little known Black American history fact is called Watch Night Services. January 1st, 1863. Many of us who live or grew up in Black communities in the United States have probably heard of Watch Night Services, the gathering of the faithful church on New Year's Eve. The service usually begins anywhere from about 7 or 10 p.m. and ends at midnight with the entrance of the new year. Some folks go to church first before going out to celebrate. For others, church is the only New Year's Eve event. Like many, we always assumed Watch Night was fairly standard Christian religious services, a bit more Afrocentric, because that's what happens when elements of Christianity become linked with the Black church. Still, it seemed that predominantly white Christian churches did not include Watch Night services on their calendars, but focused instead on Christmas Eve programs. In fact, there were instances where clergy in mainland denominations wondered aloud about the propriety of linking religious services with a secular holiday like New Year's Eve. However, there's a reason for the importance of New Year's Eve services in African American congregations. The Watch Night services in Black communities we celebrate today can be traced back to gatherings on December 31st, 1862, also known as Freedom's Eve. On that night, Blacks came together in churches and private homes all across the nation, anxiously awaiting news that the Emancipation Proclamation actually had become law. Then, at the stroke of midnight, it became law. On January 1st, 1863, and all slaves in the Confederate States were declared legally free. You know, it's a wonderful thing about that. And, you know, expanding upon that, you know, we're also talking today about the passing of a someone that I think everybody really loved, and I think she was. I wish I would have met her. Is Betty White, and I think there's a story that people don't know about her. If you do, what she did for Arthur. Forgot the gentleman's name, but I'll get in just Arthur Duncan.
Arthur Duncan.
Yes, Betty White was pushed to remove a Black dancer from the show in 1954. She declined and used him more. You know, the dancer was featured on the Betty White show and aired in the 1950s when she was encouraged to take him off because of the color of his skin, and she politely declined. Now, you guys lived in the 50s. What was that like? You know, I mean, when you think of what Betty White did back then, she could have made it easy for herself, but she stood up for something that she thought was wrong and says, you know, I'm going to use him more despite all the negativity that was going around her. I mean, just talk about that from your perspective. Who wants to start first? Go ahead, Hantie.
Thank you. Happy New Year to everyone.
Happy New Year.
When I heard that, I was not surprised of Betty. You have to have, I believe, you have to have a spirit, even way back in the 50s, even though we were still, I say we because, put a pin there. Myrna, you remember driving through Mississippi in 1957? 58?
Christmas of 58.
Yes, and they still had signs up, you know, colored only, and they weren't using blacks then; they were using colored. Okay, so move forward to Betty. I know that there are lots of people that color doesn't matter, and with you can tell them right away. I was talking to a man in the post office just the other day. Maybe it wasn't the post office. Excuse my memory.
The grocery store.
But maybe it was the store. I don't know. But this man gave me the feeling. I didn't know him. I didn't know him from Adam, and he wanted to say to me, "Well, have a happy New Year." And when he said that to me, I knew he meant it. You know, some people say, "Well, Happy New Year." You know, that means less than I want you to have a happy new year.
Yes.
I don't know what you're going through. I don't want to know, but I want you to have a happy new year. There is a difference.
Yes.
And I'm not surprised that Betty White said that and did that. I've known her for years. I mean, I knew her deceased husband when she lost Alan Ludden was her husband, and he was the host for forgot the word game. What is it? Long Password. He was the host for Password. And I just want to applaud those who didn't have to be pushed to move along.
Yes.
They just had it here. And that comes from the heart is where we're going to be judged. So I applaud her and many others. I have a local friend who color doesn't matter to her. It doesn't matter at all. And I can tell it. We talk about being sisters. Now I have a blood sister. I can tell you what that is like. And that's not derogatory. I know blood. I know DNA. This girl and I don't have DNA, but I tell you, she probably lay down her coat so I could walk across a puddle. So it's in the heart. So I'm thankful for people like Betty who could run with the banner, if you please.
Yes, beautiful. Well said. I mean, Mom and Dad, which one you want to talk about this? 'Cause it's a fascinating story, fascinating thing. Which one?
Well, and then I'm also intrigued about Frank Sinatra. And of all people, when Joe Louis was the Brown Bomber and he did not selling and so forth, and his manager took off with all of his money, and Joe Louis had no money. Couldn't get a job. Frank Sinatra took him into his hotel. He just had a job of greeting the guests. That's all he did. And Frank Sinatra paid him money. And, all he had to do was when there were a lot of good people that where color didn't matter. It didn't matter. But we're in an age now where color does matter. That's a tragedy because the United States was not based on color. It's like on the Statue of Liberty. Freedom for everybody. Bring us your poor, your rich. We are a country of open arms. Even though, how do you say it? Even though the founding fathers treated the Native Americans poorly. They took them out of their homes. They put them on marches to go to Oklahoma and these areas that were desolate, had nothing. But still, there's a thread of equality in this country. And I believe this country is a country of freedom for everybody. And it's kind of tragic when you have a few people that they don't want to have freedom for everybody. They want to have freedom just for themselves and themselves only, and you don't count.
Well said, Dad. Well said. I mean, beautiful. Mom, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, my thoughts go back to when I was growing up.
Hey, are you all right to eat?
We're going to mute my aunt real quick. All right, please. Yeah. Go ahead.
When I was growing up, I think of some racial indifferences as I was growing up. My sister just spoke about in 1958, my folks took us to Louisiana for Christmas. I was 13 years old, almost 13 years old. No, I was 13 years old. And I remember we split the South right down the middle, went through the state of Mississippi, not realizing that we're not in Michigan, we're in Mississippi. And my mother, I remember, pulled up in a gas station And that's where the racial divide came in, because the gas station attendant says, "Park down there." You know, that was for those who were of a different color. And my dad whisked her. He said, "Get out. Let's get out of here. Let's get out of here." So she wasn't thinking real clearly, but she drove on, going on down to Louisiana, Baton Rouge. We went into the dime store there. And of course, that was a real shocker when we walked into the dime store and we saw these drinking fountains. One side said colored, the other side said white. And so I think back of how we've come a long way, but we still have a long way to go in this racial divide. Now, when I got hired for my job for the Secretary of State in 1971, I was sitting waiting to be interviewed for this particular job. The man that was doing the interviewing was a white man, and I was listening to the interview and the questions he was giving the lady that was interviewing before me. And she walked out and I walked in, and he was asking me questions about I guess my life or whatever that prompted him to hire me. Now he didn't know whether I could type, whether I could read, what I could even do. But he said I had the job. Now I'm going to fast forward to the time that he retired. He retired probably 10 or 15 years before I did. And I took him out to lunch along with another friend of mine in the capital of Lansing, Michigan. And I said in the restaurant, and I said to him, I said, "You know what? I said, it amazes me. I want to ask you a question. Why did you hire me when you interviewed me? You didn't know whether I could type, write, or whatever. You didn't know anything about me, but you hired me anyhow. I worked that job for 34 years. But his answer to me was, he says, "Well, I hired you because I thought you were cute." But I say all that to say this, we have come a long way in this racial divide. But I cringe because I'm hoping that this country is not trying to bring it back to where we have come such a long way from for over 60 years. I don't know what we're faced with as we enter the year of 2022, but I'm hoping that things do improve, but I don't know. We'll just have to see.
Yeah. So yes, I think it's just a wonderful testament that you guys have lived this beautiful life here, that you're able to go back in the past and tell people who haven't lived it that, yeah, this actually happened. Because you got some people out there that believe that this doesn't happen and we just kind of just end up this way and this is just the way it is. And no, there's a series of decisions we all have to make, right? And there's good people and bad people, but when you let the bad people bully the good people to do wrong, the bad people win.
Right.
And I just want to encourage. Yeah, go ahead, Dave.
I would like to relate a story that I was a little child, I guess maybe 7, 8 years old. And a cousin of ours, moved from Cassopolis to California. And his last name was, well, I don't know if I can say his name.
Doesn't matter.
Well, anyhow, he changed his last name because he was fair skinned, he had blue eyes, and he changed his last name, and he got a job at Greyhound, driving a bus from Los Angeles to New York. And he did that for years and years and years. And somehow Greyhound discovered that he was not white. He was Black. And on a run from Los Angeles to New York, they stopped at Three Rivers. And they called, the Greyhound department called and told him, "Get off the bus. You're fired."
Wow.
Mom and Dad had to get up early in the morning, drive from Cassopolis to Three Rivers, because there he was out in the street, fired because he was Black.
Wow.
And then
They found
out he was Black. And Mom and Dad, I remember bringing him home and waking up the next morning, and Mom does, "Oh, this is your cousin Buster." Oh, really? And then that's when they explained to me what actually happened.
Wow.
And this was like, it had to be 50, 49, somewhere around there, where racism was that bad, where you couldn't drive a bus if you were Black. You could take the luggage off, you could cook for them, but you could not drive a bus.
Wow.
Or use their restrooms.
Yeah.
That is correct. That is correct. Now, we've come a long way since then.
Yes.
But still, when I see what's happening in these United States, the racism that goes on, it's really disheartening how we as a country can put up with something like this. Once again, that we thought we had defeated in the 60s with the civil rights movement.
Yeah.
But it's still there.
You know, and that's the thing. Like I said, folk, you know, there's a lot of great people, good people out there.
There are.
But when you let the minority bullies for their hatred convince you to do wrong just for convenience, it makes America a little bit worse. You know, when people stand up to do the right thing, it shows that this country and the people and the integrity that we have is just a whole lot better. You know, and thank you, Hantie, Mom and Dad, for sharing, because I think our listeners are going to be so much enriched by this, because, you know, these are stories you told I don't even know about. So I'm glad you had a chance to share it and let people know that, yeah, this stuff did happen and there's more stuff. So Mom and Dad and Hantie, we want to thank you again for coming out today and talking with us. And folk, today, don't let the bullies win. Don't let the bullies win. Because if they win, America gets a little worse. I want you to go up there. Betty White didn't have to. A lot of people didn't have to. There's more of these. I'm just using her as an example because when I heard the story, my heart just melted. She didn't have to do that. She could have gone with convenience and had a different life. But instead, she's like, this is wrong. I'm going to stand up to this. She's going to stand up. And she didn't have to. God bless her soul. Bless her family. We're going to miss you, Betty White. Rest in peace to people. And till next time, we'll see you on Mom and Dad Talks. Love you guys. And have a great time. Don't let the bullies win.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.